Welcome back to Bookcase, and this is the book review section. And today I'm delighted to introduce a very interesting book called Indian: A Portrait, written by Patrick French. Patrick French has written a number of books about India before. He's a British author, and this book is supposed to be a major riveting treatise on the country, which he has visited during the past few decades. And interestingly, this one has been widely reviewed by a number of newspapers around the world, including, the New York Times, The Guardian, The Independent. And believe it or not, this book has won critical acclaim, positive reviews from mostly Western book reviewers, except for a few Indian critics who lambasts this book as, who lambasts this book as a book that, glorifies Indian economic prosperity and ignores some important facts about, the poverty that is taking a toll on millions of people's lives in India. Anyway, I found this book very interesting, and I have read Edward Lue's book on India as well, and this book feels quite different in many ways. First of all, this is Patrick French is not a journalist, so you can expect to see a lot of different approach to writing this book. Much of the book deals with interviews with individuals from different walks of life in India, from politicians, telecom tycoons, to people on the streets, the untouchables, so to speak. So he's brought together these voices. He wants to register these voices in one book. And the result is a very eye-opening read, which is a well-researched study of the countries in transition. Essentially, the author divides this book into three major themes. The first is called Rashtra, which deals with the evolution of the national politics right from the independence in 1947, and the second one is called Lakshmi, which is about India's economic prosperity, and the third theme is called Samaj, or society and religions. He bases his research on sketches of people's lives, as I just mentioned, people in different walks of life, to frame questions about India in transition. One of the most important questions, I think, is this: is the economic prosperity of India, as we talk so much about India economic powerhouse. Is India's economic prosperity has anything to do with eradicating poverty in India itself? If you read this book, you will know that the answer from the author is no. The economic growth of India has nothing to do with the eradication of poverty, and which is the truth. But eradication of the poverty cannot happen without India's economic growth. So that's one question. The second question is, why in India there's so much talk about the children of politicians, the children of the powerful political figures who made their way into national politics and taking a high position in the corridors of power. And in this book, Patrick French come up with a very nice conclusion. He said that no matter how times have changed in India and how the country has made a lot of progress in terms of economics and politics, but politicians in India still remain the same, which is India is all about family politics. Family members of many Indian political dynasties are still there in the corridors of power, and these are hardly changes. And there's a positive and negative side to this political trend, as Patrick French has interviewed a number of political figures in this book, and we got to know so many people, so many personalities in politics. And one of them, which is impressed me a lot, is Mr. Manmohan Singh, which is the present Prime Minister of India at the moment. And Patrick French, traced his origin to the pre-independence subcontinent, in which we see Muslim immigrated to the Pakistani side, and a lot of Hindus coming to the Indian side. And Manmohan's family came from the Pakistani side of the subcontinent, and he made his way from the suburbs of India to the national politics, but it's quite an amazing journey from the Indians of backwater to the corridors of power in national politics. And Manmohan Singh himself has made big changes in India's national politics. He went to first Punjabi University, and then Cambridge, and then Oxford University, and became India's finance minister before taking the high office as the premier of his own country. Of course, he represents a force for good in Indian national politics, and there's no denying that there are many other figures who are shaping up the India's political landscape. But in spite of a number of competent political figures shaping up India's political system right now, interestingly, there are some major issues that we cannot ignore. When we talk about poverty, when we talk about a widening gap between rich and poor in India, about the emergence, the proliferation of India's newer rich. And when we look at the Indians' rural villages, the picture is quite a big contrast to what you see in big cities like Mumbai and Delhi. The poor still live their lives the way they did, 1,000 years ago, and we still got a steady stream of horror stories coming from India this day. And there's some interesting descriptions that Patrick French has come up with. I'd like to tell you something about this some of this horror story. And in one section, he described how Indians has never been short of horror stories, and one of them involves a bride who was burned to death in Jodhpur on the order of her mother-in-law because her family had not delivered a dowry. In India, the brides are expected to pay dowry to the families of the grooms. And in another case in Rajasthan, we still see stories of young girls who were injected with a cattle hormone to bring puberty prematurely, so they can be sold to brothels in United Arab Emirates. Shocking, isn't it? But that's some of the harsh realities that we come across in this account of Indian in transition. So I would say Patrick French has so much to say about India, modern India, but at the same time he has a lot to say about the old India, the poverty, the horror stories, the clash between modernity traditions, the clashes between the rich and poor. And interestingly, this paints a picture of India as a country of contrast, countries of so many self-contradictions that you have to experience yourself so that you can, see the country firsthand through your own eyes, that India is not just a country that we can say is all about modernity, it's also about riches. But there are interesting lines from this book that I would like to mention. Patrick French says that India is full of extreme wealth. At the same time, it exists side by side with a lavish poverty, which is still the case in India right now. So this is Patrick Friend in his new book, India, a Portrait. I think we learn a lot from India then and now. I would say there's so much to learn about India political history as well, right from 1947 when the country tastes the first freedom after the British left the subcontinent. There's so many things that, and there's so many political figures that you would be keen to learn from their lives and their deeds in making a difference in their own country. So I would say India, a Portrait is a riveting read for anyone interested in the politics that's going on in the subcontinent. Thank you very much for your attention. See me next time in Bookcase on ASEAN TV. Bye.
ASEAN TV, 10 nations, one vision.